we are going to talk about testing your messaging application. And Marcin, do you like to share why we do this presentation?
Yeah, like when you go to conferences, you can see quite a few people talking about HTTP-based communication. This is, let's say, de facto standard in the way applications communicate with each other. We're quite good at testing those pieces, but actually, quite rarely can you see messaging-based applications, and almost never can you see how to actually test them. So it's really good that during the keynote, there was a presentation related to Kafka. And this is why we wanted to create this sort of a presentation where we will introduce, let's say, some testing approaches, let's say different approaches to testing of messaging-based applications. We're going to show quite a lot of code, so if you're lost at any time, don't worry, because under Sprinkled Samples organization and messaging application repo, you will find the code and all the tests, if you're lost. So since we have quite a few things to talk about, we're going to start with talking about ourselves. So my name is Marcin Grzejszczak, and this is the joke that I always say, that I know that it's impossible for you to pronounce my name. So
I can do it.
Yeah, you can do it. You're the only person, I guess, here. So you can go to my blog, toomuchcoding.com, and copy my Twitter handle that I have to change. Why didn't I take my first name and one letter from the surname, right? That would make more sense.
It was probably taken, I guess.
Yeah, it was probably taken. So I work at Pivotal at the Spring Cloud team, and I'm leading those three projects, Spring Cloud Sleuth, Contract, and Pipelines.
Great. So my name is Jakub Pilimon. Besides being the only person in this room who can actually pronounce Marcin's surname, which is Grzejszczak, I'm a Spring Developer Advocate at Pivotal. I'm interested in domain-driven design, test-driven development, and anything that comes close to architecture, whatever it means. I tweet under Jakub Pilimon, I run a blog, and also I'm a co-founder of DDD by Examples, which is a set of projects that aim as a bridge towards DDD enthusiasts and Spring users. You can find us at GitHub. Ping us if you want to collaborate. There's plenty of fun work to do with us.
Yeah, so by the way, thank you for choosing our session because at the same time, there are quite a few very interesting sessions, so we're really, really happy that you chose ours. And there is, let's say, a note that we have to take right now that this presentation will be hilarious. It's going to be extremely funny. So we're going to show you when to laugh at our jokes, OK? And the first thing, like the first joke to start with, is that we're going to simulate such a situation that I'm an ivory tower architect in a sad company somewhere.
It's not funny, by the way.
And the thing is that all the developers quit because they were fed up with, let's say, the code and all the stuff related to the company. So I'm the only one that can code right now. And since I can't really code properly, and we didn't have a lot of money, we paid for Jakub as a consultant. Of course, we're doing this presentation like not the first time. And I asked Jakub to do one single thing. Can you bring a tie? Because consultants wear tie.
Yeah, I forgot my consultant.
And he never brings it, so he doesn't have a tie. So, dear consultant, maybe I'm going to introduce you to our domain, to the financial domain of our company via test.
Can you show me some code? Yes,
yeah,
I was going to ask.
I will show you some code. So,
what do
can
you do?
Can you see the code properly in the back? Is it okay? It's good? Okay. So it's a financial domain. So essentially what we do is we grant and reject cards, right?
So
somebody applies for cards.
You work for finance, you might say.
Yeah. And we apply for, people apply for cards, and here you can see two black box tests. Essentially a request comes in, and if you're born in 70s or later, so let's say we have some sort of a personal client ID, and two first digits signify that somebody was born in given year. So over here you can see 70s and 61, right?
Wait. What kind of framework is that?
Oh, yeah. So it's we're full stack developers. I mean, we had full stack developers because there's nobody there. But so it means that we make bugs in all sorts of frameworks. This one is called Spock. It's a Groovy-based framework in which we can write tests. So essentially, if you're born in 70s or later, you send a request, you get the 200, and the card was granted. If you're born before the 70s, we will not grant the card. We're going to reject it.
How the app knows that the client was born in 70s or later? Or?
Yeah, we have a very sophisticated algorithm of checking the first two digits. and they mean the year in which you were born. If you have questions like what happens if you have 0 something, it's an MVP, you know, that happened to go to production.
So
okay, so let's go to the controller, right?
All right. Let's check the controller. It's kind of an application service, I think. So.
Yeah, so we inject via constructor the application, the apply for card service, because if we want to do it via fields, IntelliJ always tells us not to do it, so it was really annoying. So we started doing that like this, and let's say in the method, we delegate the work to the application service that if the card is granted, we map it to an OK response, and if not, we make it forbidden.
So I will go inside, apply for card service.
Sure. Okay, so you know, we believe in self-documenting code, so maybe you will read the code yourself.
All right.
It's so easy.
So if the client was born before 70s, it's pretty descriptive, then you don't get the card. Otherwise, you get the card with a default limit. Am I correct?
That's why you paid the big bucks, man. So essentially, this is the whole code, and the business decided that they need some additional features, you know.
And here's this sophisticated algorithm.
Yeah, right? yeah. Like I said, MVP.
All right.
So the business decided that whenever the card is granted or the card is rejected, we have to use a notification service, you know, another application. Yes, it's a different application to send out some sort of notifications, you know, emails, text messages, whatever, right?
Like you got the card, or I'm sorry, the application was rejected.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you have to pay all your debts first before you apply for a card.
Makes sense.
So, yeah, so this is the thing. I have a hunch that the business will want to send this information to more services.
So you have more services in your architecture, right?
Yeah, that's good that you presented it in quotes, because this is not the best architecture.
It was not accidental.
Yeah, I assume so. Yeah, so there is more, and I know how to do it, you know, but I can show you how I think we can do it.
Let's wait. So there will be other services interested in this information that the card was granted or rejected. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
How about the performance of the second application? Does it bother you if the second one or the other one is underperforming a bit?
I mean, it is underperforming because the notification services was written by, I guess, me, and so for sure it's underperforming. And the thing is, giving cards or rejecting cards is the crucial piece of our business. So the performance of other apps cannot influence the key business.
All right. So can you show me
your
idea?
So, I mean, only because my bosses told me to hire you to get the confirmation that this is okay. I only talk to you, but I'm going to show you absolutely a perfect solution to this problem.
So pretty much you know how to do it, you just need the paper.
Yeah.
Okay.
So take a look at how real professionals do it. Where are you? Here. So I would over here send a REST request to service 1, right? That card was rejected.
So for instance, the service 1 would be this notification service.
And now, if I have more, I would do like this. You know the French scientist copy-paste?
I know. I know this guy. I also think that you are getting paid for the lines of code, right?
You aren't? Of course I am paid by the lines of code.
For the more lines, the more money you get.
Card was granted. Okay, and now we have the solution. So, are we done?
So what if you had like 10 services like this? Or
you copy
12?
10 times. I mean, what a stupid question it is.
What if it's 100?
I think you can do it for each loop.
All right.
You can generate some sort of code. I mean, it's possible.
All right. So, but each time you add a new service, you have to redeploy this one and modify tests. I guess you have tests for this process?
I mean, so in fact, this is continuous deployment. You continuously deploy after you change the code, right?
All right. So if you continuously deploy and have to add code and test code, you probably violate something which is called open-close principle, right? Have you heard about that as an enterprise architect?
I don't know this guy, sorry.
Okay. So it means that you probably shouldn't modify code all the time. Because this process works, I guess. It's proved by test. I hope so.
It's complicated.
We'll get to that. But, okay, so talking about performance. So what about if one of those services is underperforming?
I knew you would ask this question. So I know the buzzwords because I'm an ivory tower architect. I can throw the buzzwords in your face.
Give me that.
Circuit breaker.
Like history.
Hystrix.
All right.
Now, what will you say?
But with Hystrix, how are we going to ensure that eventually the message will be there?
Oh, so you're saying that, okay, so even if I have a circuit breaker, I'm sending a request, I get a timeout or a failure or whatever, I have to store this information that I tried sending it, and I need some sort of a scheduler or something to try it again.
Something like this.
Oh, I don't like it. So, okay. So,
Any other ideas?
No, that was my only idea.
So how about you just send one message to someone, like this thing just happened, like the card was granted or the application was rejected, and then you delegate your problem. You're probably good at this.
Oh, I love delegating. So you're saying that I can push this problem to somebody else?
Yeah, you
Oh,
can delegate.
I love it, man. It's
And you already have this guy in your infrastructure. It's called RabbitMQ.
the messaging broker. Yeah, we have it.
You have it.
Nobody uses it, but we have it.
But it's there. It's up and running.
Yeah.
So you can just send a message saying, "Hey, this thing happened." And the
Okay.
message which is a thing from the past. It's called a domain event.
So you're saying that instead of sending the, let's say, REST or HTTP request with a particular operation, because for let's say, call for every single service, we would need to know exact operation that we want to execute, right? So that's kind of problematic. Instead of doing this, we just emit an information to our system. Hey, something happened. Do something about this, right?
I don't care who subscribed to this message. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it makes more sense.
It's like a mainnet,
So maybe
right?
you can code something.
All right, so let's sum it up maybe first, because you still may think that this solution is better. Probably think that because it's more lines of code.
Yeah,
so
but you've shown us that it's problematic.
So think about that. Why we can use messaging in this kind of situation? In your context, of course. I'm not saying it's like a silver bullet, right? So first of all, do you know this buzzword? It's not a buzzword, by the way, but probably you have heard about temporal coupling.
Some coupling related to time, I guess.
It's good.
I'm good,
It's
man.
coupling related to time. It means that two applications have to be alive at the same time if they want to communicate.
Okay.
Which is not the case with message broker, or is it? Because
I mean, it depends if the message broker is alive, right?
Yeah, but it's probably more likely to be up than your app because you wrote it and
I wrote the app, yeah.
RabbitMQ is managed by Pivotal, so I
yeah,
guess.
makes sense.
Yeah, so
And
temporal
also,
coupling
I mean,
is
brokers
eliminated.
never die, right? I mean, it's not going to
clusters of
happen.
them, yeah? So you don't have temporal coupling, which is a good thing in your context.
Yep.
One more thing. So if the second app is underperforming, it can just get the messages, get the events, and process those emails or whatever it is at its own pace, right?
Oh, so you're saying, oh yeah, sure. So with HTTP, it's we would have something called like a back pressure, but it's like not always do you have it, right? And here it comes out of the box, right? You just have it, right?
So we have like throttling mechanism built
nice.
in. It's good?
I like
Okay.
it, yeah.
So if the second one is down or is underperforming, it doesn't affect your process.
Cool.
Other thing, if you need more guys, more services that would like to have this information, you just subscribe to RabbitMQ. You don't modify the process of granting a card, right?
Okay, so I send it once, and I have, let's say, with every additional application, it just subscribes to the queue or something like this, and that's it, right?
You fire and forget about anything else. Just fire an event, and that's it.
Okay.
You're done. All right, two more things. Spatial coupling and logical coupling, which means two applications don't need to see each other in the infrastructure.
I have a buzzword here. I can use service discovery.
In service discovery, okay, but they still need to know about each other.
Still I need to know the name. Yeah. So, okay, it doesn't help me at all.
With messaging, the producer doesn't know who the consumers are.
Okay.
The consumers do not know who the producer is. So it's like completely decoupled.
I see.
Right? And you can just add subscribers. They can subscribe to downstream messages.
I understand.
It works good.
I like it.
So
let's go that way.
With messaging, right?
Sure.
Let's do it. So, I'm getting paid for the amount of time I spend with you. So I'm going to write tests before the implementation.
I mean, we already have some tests, but it's a little bit complicated with the tests.
So let's take a look at tests. I would like to see a test for this task, apply for card service. Do you mind if I delete that?
Okay, if you have to.
Okay, and let's look for tests. I'm looking for test, apply for card service, right? Unit test, it's this one. It's again in Groovy.
So I have to, we have this plugin called checkstyle that verifies if we have certain amount of code coverage. And the tests are there. So you know, we have this problem with TDD because in TDD you have red-green refactor.
And here just
and
have
we
green.
have just green, right?
Okay.
Because we prefer to have the passing test. That's why, you know, if you have a passing test, you don't have to refactor it, right? I mean, because it's working, right?
Okay.
It's not broken.
Okay.
And checkstyle doesn't complain because there's a test.
I don't know this new way of test development. I will stick with the old-fashioned test-driven development, like with real test, red-green refactor, without refactor because we don't have time for that.
I mean, it's a waste of time, but go ahead.
All right, so should emit card granted when client was born in 70s? So probably, most probably, you would have to call a service, like when service was called, with some kind of parameter indicating the client was born in 70s. I guess this is good enough, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
Will work. Then what? Then we expect that some domain event publisher or thing like this will be called, right?
Yeah, because we want to publish the event, right?
I have seen that you already have done some work regarding this domain event publisher. It's in here. It's not implemented yet, but the work was started.
Yeah, I mean, as an let's say ivory tower architect, I didn't exactly know what the code does, like domain event publisher, so I added some Java docs.
All right.
Like domain event publisher responsible for publishing domain events, or publish domain event publishes domain events.
It's self-descriptive.
Now it's better.
Yeah. I understand everything from this code. Like it's good. It's good. So I will use domain event publisher, which publishes domain events, to our test. All right.
Okay.
So I think we have to create our domain event publisher in here, right? Domain event publisher. I will call it publisher.
Or even before the service, I guess.
Even before the service. It should be a mock, most probably, right?
Oh yeah, because with the stub, we're just implying that we're going to modify the behavior of the object or of the class or the interface. And with mock, we are not only doing that, but we're also recording the behavior, so we can verify if something happened, right?
Way to go, Marcin. It's correct. All right. So most probably we have to inject both repo and our publisher to our apply for card service, right?
Okay.
And then we have to go here and fix that. Private final domain event publisher. Make sense so far?
Sure.
Add constructor, refactor. Good. And now what? Now, when the guy or a girl was born in 70s, we are expecting that our domain event publisher was called one time, right?
Okay, so it's like verified Mockito, right? So the mock was called once with a particular argument, right?
I don't know. You tell me. You use Spock, you use JUnit, you are full stack.
Yeah, like I said, it's just for making bugs.
All right. So I think we could verify the type of
Also,
the
you
event.
saw that we had empty bodies of the test, so we didn't have any of those problems, like is it a mock, is it a stub?
Okay. Makes sense.
If you don't write
Now I
the
understand
bodies,
everything.
a lot of problems go away. Like no code equals no problems, right?
Good. So let's write some code, unfortunately.
Okay.
I think we could verify whether the domain even is of a certain type, like in this case, card granted,
Yeah,
I guess,
card
right?
granted, yeah.
I think it was done like this in Groovy, right, in Spock?
If you say so.
And we can do thing that we really like, so copy-paste,
Yeah.
and change the client ID.
Okay.
He or
and
she was
now
born in 50s.
Card application rejected, right?
And I will run the test. It should fail, right? So this is red-green refactor. Okay?
I mean, just red for now.
Pay attention. Okay, it's red, but it's going to be green. It's red.
Okay, so
Let's fix
it's
that.
red because we didn't call the interface, right?
Great. All right, so let's call the interface. In this case, the card was rejected, right? The application was rejected. I'm going to publish a new event, which is called card application rejected. It takes some parameters, probably client ID, right?
I guess so.
And the other one is card granted. Card granted, it takes more parameter. It takes card limit or card number. It also takes card limit and client ID.
Okay.
Good? If I rerun the test and if it passes, can I go to production?
I mean, I'm always for going to production.
Let's go to
but
production.
Yeah. Who thinks we should go to production right now? Like,
CF
yeah,
push.
of course. YOLO and to production. So there is one problem because we mentioned like you have to use the interface.
All right.
But is there an implementation anywhere? Did
No,
you write it?
so I think this unit test is not enough. How about we create some integration test and actually we implement this interface, right?
Makes sense, right? Let's do it.
This is good. It drove us into a good design of our class. It's a unit test, super fast, but it doesn't test the domain event publisher. It only tests the interaction between the two components, right? Okay, so I'm going to implement this guy. Implement. And you guys are using RabbitMQ.
Yeah, RabbitMQ.
I will call our domain event publisher to RabbitMQ event publisher. Make sense?
Yeah, let's do it.
And you also use everything, probably.
Yeah, we do. We have everything.
You have Spring Cloud Stack, right?
Yes, we do.
So there is a neat abstraction for messaging in Spring Cloud. It's called Spring Cloud Stream.
Oh, yeah. So Spring Cloud Stream is the abstraction over, let's say, messaging in such a way that it defines a concept of a channel. So a channel is an abstraction over a concrete destination to which you will send a message, like a Kafka topic or a RabbitMQ exchange. And there are some predefined channels, like there's this sync interface that comes with an input channel. So if you want to listen to a message, use a sync. If you're sending a message, you're using a source interface that has an output channel.
So I'm guessing this application, this apply for cards application, will be a source because it has one output channel.
Yeah, it sends a message out.
So we enabled binding to source.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yes.
But how will the framework know which broker are we going to talk to, whether it's Kafka or Rabbit or whatever it is?
So the cool thing is that it abstracts completely the underlying infrastructure, and it's enough for you to add the dependency on your class path.
Right.
For example, stream Rabbit, and then Spring Cloud Stream knows how to send the proper message to the proper infrastructure.
So this is what people call magic.
It's called engineering, man.
Okay. So with this engineering, we are good to go and publish to RabbitMQ, right?
Yes.
So let's go
Assuming
back.
that you wrote some code. No, you didn't.
Not yet, but yes. Now I'm ready to write this code.
Let's do it.
So I think we could inject here our definition of channels, which in this case is a source, right?
The source interface.
So private final source. Let's pick the correct one. Source. It should be the third one, right?
Yeah.
I will name it source.
Oh, that's a good name.
Source and inject it via constructor, of course. And then it's very easy, I guess. Source dot output. It's the only channel available. Send a new message, new generic message, which is basically an envelope for your payload.
Yeah.
I will pass your event. What's a domain event, by the way? I think. Yeah, you wrote it, so maybe you'll elaborate on that.
I'm good on abstractions, you know. I mean, I'm an ivory tower architect, so I want every domain to have a type. But I don't think anybody implemented the interface, actually. So the idea was that instead of scanning the body of the event, we wanted some sort of a hook or like whatever.
Common behavior for
I
events.
mean, we wanted the event to tell us what they are instead of verifying the payload.
I just think we can use it in here. You can use the type of the event. Maybe the subscribers would like to know what's the type of the event that
Is there something like similar that in HTTP there's a content type header that can tell us about the type? So can we do something similar?
You mean headers in messaging?
Yeah.
Take a look. Just take a look. Headers.
Oh, this is why we paid the big bucks.
Right?
Oh,
right?
man, this is...
Was it cool?
Nice, nice.
So we have headers.
Sweet.
And I can pass headers as a second parameter to my envelope, and that's it. I'm done. Good to go. Here's my invoice.
Let's go to production.
All right, but let's first write this test, because we start about the test and then we forget.
Yeah. You can ignore it and go to production, right?
That's what you do, but again, I'm being paid for the amount of time I spend with you. So I need to code something.
Okay, do it.
Here is a JUnit test.
It's empty.
It's empty, but it's in an integration test, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to bootstrap the whole context.
Yes.
So we can just test our just created domain event publisher to RabbitMQ event publisher.
Yeah, but do we want to call the RabbitMQ in our test?
I don't know. I think we shouldn't, because that would mean we depend on some external infrastructure running alongside our test, which is against all of the good practices of when it comes to testing, right?
Yeah, as you can see, we have a problem with good practices.
So trust me, it is a good practice not to rely on an external infrastructure running alongside the test. So what we could do, we don't want to run this domain event publisher during this test, but we still want to test the whole interaction. So maybe we could just replace this one bean, just the only bean, with another bean.
Like a mock?
Like a mock.
So maybe start typing like mock bean. Maybe there is something. Oh, there is something like this. Mock bean.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I would just pass the domain event publisher as a mock bean, right?
Okay.
Name it publisher again.
Great.
And that means what? That we have mock bin of domain event publisher. Again, self-documenting.
Yeah. I mean, I would write a Java doc here, but go ahead.
All right.
Just run the test.
Should emit card granted event. Now we can just try to apply a via controller.
Yeah.
And then we'll see whether the domain event publisher was called with a proper value.
Sweet.
Bear with me on that because I'm going to make a lot of typos. So when, right? Someone applies for a card via controller, apply. The person was born in 70s. Make sense so far? Then we want to make sure that this guy, and now we can use good old-fashioned Mockito style, and we can verify that publisher was called once with a specific parameter, which is instance of card granted, right?
Okay.
Does it make sense so far?
Yes.
We have to import this. Good. It compiles. I will copy-paste for the second test, okay?
I like it.
Right. Copy-paste.
That's what I do for a living, man.
Right. 50-50. 55.
This is how we're going to split?
Yeah, this is how we're going to split.
Okay.
If we spend like 3 more days.
Okay.
Card application rejected, right? Will it pass the test?
Of course.
I don't think so, but let's see. If it passes, just by any chance, if it passes, can we push to production finally?
Of course we can, man. I mean, who thinks we can go to production? We have a passing unit test and integration test. There's one guy over there. I like you, man.
Proof.
You want to go to production in every single step.
Brave people.
Yes.
Hands up. Go. So,
let's go to production. Right now.
Oh, yes, but just one thing, one tiny little thing. I'm not very proud about that.
But we're friends. Nobody hears that.
To be honest, I'm embarrassed, but it's not what all the cool kids do nowadays, but I run my apps locally before pushing to production.
What? You're not testing on production directly?
I run my apps locally before pushing to production. Can I do that? It's going to take like half a minute, so again, more time, more money.
Okay, I mean, this is embarrassing, but you're embarrassing yourself, your education.
That's my job. I'm a consultant.
This is pathetic. So you're wasting everybody's time.
We have unit tests, integration tests.
Everything is passing. You're wasting everybody's time. Come on. Oh.
So it didn't work.
I think it's your IDE is broken.
I think it's Java 10.
It's Java 10?
It's some bug in Java 10.
Application failed to start. What does it mean? Maybe the application failed to start.
Maybe you should read the description. Parameter 1 of constructor blah 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 required a bin. I know this kind of a bug. It's a bug in Spring. We should apply.
Oh, it's a bug in Spring. Yeah, you're using snapshots, I guess. Yeah.
Let's go to Jitter and just write something.
Yeah, but maybe. But is it? I mean, the tests have passed, right?
Right. Let's take a look at our 2RabbitMQ event publisher because.
Why is it gray, like 2RabbitMQ event publisher? It means it's unused?
Oops.
But wait. But the integration test has passed.
And the integration test bootstrapped the whole context.
Yeah. Anybody has an idea why it didn't pass? Mockbean? Okay, so what about Mockbean? Let's.
I will do something that was never done by anyone, I guess. I will read Java docs.
What? Are you insane? File and issue at Stack Overflow a question. Somebody's going to answer it.
Yeah, but we don't.
You're
have time
reading
for
the
that.
docs?
Yeah. Take a look.
I'm sorry, he's new in the industry.
Bear with me while I do so. Any existing single bin of the same type defined in the context will be replaced by the mock.
That's expected.
If no existing bin is defined, a new one will be added.
Ooh.
So not the kind of thing we would have expected, right?
Oops.
So
it escalated quickly.
Yeah. So what about that? I think we should think about something different. But let's us recap what we have just done with those 2 tests. All right. So the first test. By the way, I sketched the whole architecture of yours while you were talking.
I'm pretty sure when you're going to every single company and you're showing the same slide. I'm more than certain.
You are not special. I mean,
what?
You're not special.
I'm not special?
Neither is your architecture, things like this. You have a controller, you have a service, you have a repo that talks to the database, you have some RabbitMQ or any other message broker and some subscribers. That's it. I just changed the names while you were talking.
You heard my feelings, but go ahead.
The first test examined the apply for card service in isolation. It was good. Unit test, super fast. Led us into a good design of our apply for card service, right?
Yep.
The second test bootstrapped the whole context,
Okay.
Because we wanted to test the main event publisher, right? Not only
Correct.
apply for card service. So we got the whole context, the MVC, even in-memory database, right?
Yes.
It took ages to start.
Yeah, like
but then
2 seconds.
Like 2 seconds or 10 seconds. And then we replaced the main event publisher with a mock. So that was the thing that we wanted to test in the first place.
Yeah.
So it doesn't give us any more assurance than the previous test.
So are you going to the concept that we shouldn't have written any tests at all and it will be faster?
So we're going back to start, right?
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying that maybe
I'm a slow learner, so.
maybe we should just tackle this problem in a different way. Because this test is nothing more than the previous test, except it's longer and it has false positives, right?
Yeah.
Luckily, I got to know a great tool built in Spring Cloud Stream. It has testing binder. Have you heard about that?
Oh, so you're saying that since we're already using binders that are an abstraction over concrete, let's say, infrastructure, where we're sending messages or we're listening, polling for the messages, there's also something called a message collector, right? So it's like a test binder. So we're saying that our infrastructure, in fact, will be a blocking queue. So we are sending and receiving messages from a Java util concurrent blocking queue.
It means we can run this 2RabbitMQ event publisher in our test and don't have to set up the broker alongside our test.
Yeah, because all the messages will be sent to the queue.
To this queue.
Yep.
Via message collector. To our channel source output. Again,
like
self-descriptive code.
Yes.
I like it. So let's write this test.
Let's do it.
So again, this time again, Groovy, Spock, why not? So when someone applies for a card and was born in 70s, I guess, right? New card application in 70s. Then what? Then we want to take a look at the RabbitMQ exchange.
Yeah, so previously we were using the mock, so there was no message actually sent. This time it will be sent to the blocking queue.
So I can take a look at the last event.
Okay.
I will pull it, right?
Yes.
I'm interested in its headers, most probably. That's a good start. And I want to make sure that this contains a specific value. In case of card granted, it was just card dash granted, right?
Yes.
That's the type of the event.
So it's the thing coming from the messaging headers coming from the interface with get type.
Exactly.
Okay.
In this case, we'd like to change the ID to 55, and then we expect what? Card application.
Application rejected, yes.
Application, no typos, please. Card application rejected, right?
Yes.
Okay, I will run this test. If it's green, can we go to production?
Of course, always.
So let's go to production?
Yes.
Who thinks we could go to production?
I was counting on you.
Yeah, again.
Good.
Great. All right. One more thing I would like to share.
Oh my God, again?
Again? It's only half an hour. It's like
you don't have a watch.
$20.
Okay.
How about just an idea? I'm not saying we have to do that, but just a tiny little idea.
Okay.
How about we run this app and the second app and also the RabbitMQ, which is just by accident running on my machine right now?
You want to run both things and click it?
Yeah, and check whether it works. I mean, that's what I do as a consultant.
I mean, why? We have passing tests, man.
I don't know, because I don't have idea what to do during the next half an hour.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's do it.
All right, so I hope there is a running instance of Rabbit.
Everybody has a running instance of Rabbit.
Yeah, it comes with the laptop, I guess. So, plus, we need the second application, the subscriber, but you started some work regarding the subscriber.
I mean, again, like with all the MVPs in our company, they go to production, and I didn't have a lot of time, so I have a listener over there.
All right, let's take a look.
That essentially, it binds to the input, like to the sync interface.
So it's another Spring Boot application which binds to sync.
Yeah, so it's going to poll for messages.
And that's it?
Yeah, so...
That's what took you 2 weeks to do. This code.
Yeah. I mean...
All right.
I'm not fast. So you have two methods that essentially, depending on the type of the message. So in the headers, there's a key called type. And basing on whether it's card granted or card application rejected, the proper method will be executed.
Okay, so...
And logged, because I didn't have time to
send an email.
Yeah,
okay, but it's good enough. We will see an effect, right?
Yeah.
If we run it. So let's go for to this first application. It was called messaging application, right? I will just run it.
Okay.
And in the meantime, if there's no port clash, I will run the second application.
Do it.
And there is already running instance of Rabbit. So what we have to do right now, I guess, do HTTP post to the first application.
Yeah.
It will generate some events,
Yes.
either rejected or granted. Go to Rabbit. From the Rabbit MQ, the second one will take over and listen to events.
And it will log it out.
I think we're good to go. So I also have prepared some curl requests.
Of course, you go with them
All
on
the time.
a USB stick.
You see? It's, the client was born in the 50s, right?
Yes.
That means we are expecting, in this case, card rejected,
Okay.
card application rejected, and this log, right? And 403 as a HTTP.
403, cool.
It's good enough. How about in 70s? It's in here. We expect 200, it's okay.
Yay.
And take a look at the logs, messaging application. It's in here. Rejected, granted, I think it worked. My job is done in here. I think I'm good to go. Here's my invoice. Please pay me. You have 3 days. Deadline, 4 days, 5 days.
I will pay you as much as it's there in the brackets.
Here?
Yes.
It's not even a number.
And that's going to be your invoice.
So no invoice.
No invoice. You can't, divide by your invoice.
But why is it so? I mean, we have tests. Like, we have running 2 applications, which are there.
You know
There's
what?
Rabbit.
I have enough of this. You're constantly putting a blame on somebody, right? Who are you going to blame this time?
I'm going to blame
Like, give the name. Who is to blame?
one name,
Yeah.
Jackson.
Like Michael Jackson, Peter Jackson,
Just Jackson serializer.
the Jackson serializer. Who's to blame?
I think so. Jackson is the one who to be blamed. I think so, because you see, the headers are okay, right? In here. We delegate to a specific handler, but there's something wrong with the payload, so I'm blaming it on Jackson. It's not my fault.
Of course, it's Jackson's.
You are using JSON, right?
Yeah.
To communicate to Rabbit and then
Yes.
to listen from Rabbit. So probably Jackson serializer will take over and try to serialize your POJOs, card granted or card application
I didn't
rejected.
configure anything.
So most probably you don't have getters or something like this. I don't remember, but let's
Okay.
check it. All right, so this one was called card granted, the event, right?
Okay.
Consumer node, but producers on the producer side. You see, no getters, so it's Jackson's fault.
So get type was let's say deserialized because we have the getter, right?
Yeah, I will just correct that, another getter to client. Quickly restart this app, that's what I do.
But this is unfortunate. But I mean, we have to run both apps, click them around.
Let's see whether it works, by the way, and then we'll talk about solutions, which I don't know right now. All right, it's up. Let's do the happy path. So card granted. I think it's this one, right?
Okay.
It's 200, and if everything worked out good, yes, it works. So here goes my invoice. But you are right, to be honest. We don't want to test like this. There should be another way.
Unfortunate.
I'm just thinking, because if you have like more consumers and producers running them locally, it doesn't scale.
Yeah,
If it was REST API, like you wanted in the first place, by the way.
Yeah.
If it was REST API, there is this guy talking about contracts with a beard, and it's very, very boring, by the way. But it's a REST API, so it wouldn't work in here. The contracts wouldn't work in here because it's messaging.
So I do 2 things to what you said. The first one, he's not boring. He's absolutely very interesting, and his presentations are really awesome. And if you
I wouldn't know that because I was asleep. So
yeah, if you didn't leave his presentation after 5 minutes, you would have known that you can use contracts as well to messaging.
in messaging,
Yeah, I can show you
like
how.
contracts, you can show me.
Yeah.
Show me. But I'm still going to charge you for this time.
Of course you will. So, whoa, where did it go? So in like with Spherical contract or contract test in general, you can define a contract. That's why it's called Spherical contract. A contract is an agreement between the consumer and the producer on how the communication should look like. So if we check out and you can define it using YAML or Groovy.
All right.
So if we check out this YAML definition.
Either YAML or Groovy. So here it's also full stack.
Yeah, we're full stack. So with HTTP, the contract looks different because it's a blocking communication. Send a request, and you block till you get the response, right?
Makes sense.
And with messaging, something has to happen in your system to send out the message. So in our case, we have a method executed called send rejected. that should trigger out a message. Now,
This is just a YAML file.
yeah,
How
so,
does it work?
I mean, there are some companies that, let's say, send tests or expectations or code via emails and stuff like that. So you can do it, right? So we could send this expectation, YAML expectation, via email, but it doesn't really scale. And it doesn't prove anything. We can write it on a piece of paper.
All right.
What we want to achieve is to do some sort of a verification whether actually this contract is met. So we generate tests out of it. Now, I haven't seen in any of your tests, Mr. Wise Guy, that we should write tests, right? Have we actually checked the name of the topic to which we send? Because theoretically, on one side, we can send a message to a topic foo, and on the other side, we can listen to a topic bar.
So the answer to your question would be...
It depends.
It depends,
yes,
yeah.
of course. So, so first we're checking if we're sending the message to proper destination. We verify if the headers are met, and if the body is correct, and there are some dynamic bits. More interesting thing is that we have some generated tests over here. Let's check it out. So, believe it or not.
You didn't code it.
No. So this test was generated by Spherical Contract Framework.
Okay, just stop talking, just run this test.
I can't really run it because we need to set up some configuration because the generated test extends a base class. Why? Because we need to set up some context, messaging infrastructure and stuff like that. So if we go to the send rejected method, we'll see that we have something commented out.
Okay, so we have to teach the tool how to actually publish this.
Yeah, because we said that if a method send rejected is executed, we're going to send a message to a given destination. So then inside the generated test, we verify whether we're listening to the proper destination.
Just run the test.
Oh man, just run the test. But when I wanted to go to production, you wanted to run two apps, right?
Yes. Now just run the test.
Okay. So the test has failed. Why is it so? Because the parse JSON
because of Jackson again.
Because of the Jackson guy. So the JSON contains only the type.
All right.
And it doesn't have the client ID.
Because the type had the getter.
Yeah.
So can you fix that?
I don't like your keyboard.
All right. So
I'm not paid to write code, man.
All right. It was called card application rejected, right? So you're just saying that if I add getters here to client ID and timestamp, it should work.
Theoretically, hypothetically.
All right, let's just add private in here, like this, and add getter for client ID, add getter from timestamp. I'm going to rerun this test and see whether it's green.
Green is good.
It's green. Shall we go to production, finally?
Of course.
Really? Right now?
Yes.
But, so let's recap.
Okay.
Let's recap what we have done during this test and the previous one. So with message collector, we finally tested the whole left side of communication. The real domain event publisher that is going to be used in the production is also used during testing.
Correct.
The same code. The only change the binder from really instance of Rabbit or Kafka to testing binder that goes to blocking queue that we can run assertions upon, right?
Okay, makes sense.
So the left side. But as you suggested, we didn't even check whether the channel was correct, the name of the channel. Plus, we didn't check the serialization, right?
Nope.
But with your contracts,
My contract, so I'm the guy with the beard.
You introduced the contract.
Okay.
So with this solution, let's name it like this, we can check whether the left side of the communication works. We don't need to set up the broker. We can check if the message was sent to a proper channel with some proper body and things like this. But also, I think, just like with REST APIs and contract when it comes to REST, we can use this generated contract as a stub, as an external jar that can be imported in client notification app.
Yeah, so client notification app can, let's say in their tests, they can send a message as if it was the publisher that would send it, but it came from the stub. So, and the stub was verified against the producer as we did right now, because the generated test verified whether the contract says the truth, right? So
it's like end-to-end test of the whole communication without having to set up the broker.
Yeah, but an important thing to remember is that with contract tests, we do not want to replicate the business logic, right? So if we have, let's say, gazillion features, we're not going to write gazillion contracts because we have to support those, right? There are companies that do this, but I wouldn't actually suggest doing so.
So instead of checking whether the business feature works, we check whether the communication
Precisely,
works.
yes.
Cool. So we can go to production.
Fine.
Except one thing, the last thing. Because I think,
Oh my God.
again, it's a tiny, tiny little detail like this. At the very beginning, I think the first line of code, during this, we made some kind of a mistake, I guess.
Wait. So you waited until the very end, after, of course, the full hour has passed. So
Yeah.
you get the invoice, right?
Yeah.
To tell us that at the beginning, we made a mistake.
Yes, because, you know, I like to learn by mistakes, but you didn't
But can you
spot
stop making them?
So you want me to stop learning?
Okay, fair enough.
You didn't spot this mistake. I thought it was like completely obvious, but you didn't say anything.
What's obvious?
Take a look at this method. It's transactional, right? It's,
Yes.
It applies for a card, right?
Yes.
And where does the exact commit to database happen?
It's so rudimentary, man. So like we go to the method, let's say it's a positive scenario, right? So we get the card, we let's say try to save it. So
Where is the commit?
After the method, like when we go out of the method.
All right. So here's the thing. What if our domain in the publisher, so our RabbitMQ, is not responding? It's down, let's say.
No problem. So we're trying to save. We're sending the message. We get an exception, so we roll back the transaction. Nothing is stored.
Okay, that was a happy path. That was easy. What if this line of code is successful? And then you try to commit and your database is down.
First thing, it never happens.
All right.
But
In your
assuming
architecture.
theoretically that that's the case, we try to store it, or we, let's say, postpone it until we get out of the method. We publish the event, so let's say card was granted.
In here, right?
Yes.
This line of code.
And then we get out of the method. So we inform the whole world that the card was granted. Now we get out of the method, and we don't store it in the database.
And?
And that's it.
It's the end of the story, right?
Yeah. It's called eventual consistency.
If by eventually you mean never, then yes.
It's an extreme case of eventual consistency.
So never.
Yes.
All right. But do you really want to work like this? Like you announce to the whole world, hey, this thing was
I mean,
granted.
nobody else is going to hire me, so yes, I want to work like this.
Can you fix that?
I mean,
I don't like it.
okay, so nothing comes to my mind, Mr. Wise Guy.
So how about you reorder things? Like you try to commit and then you try to publish event.
Oh, there is a thing in Spring like transaction synchronization.
Talking about this transaction synchronization
Yeah.
manager.
You can register a callback that
All right.
after the successful commit to the database, you do something.
So I have to overwrite after commit, and
Yes.
only after commit, if and only if
Yes.
the commit was successful, I'm going to run this line of code
Yes.
here.
Yes. You can do that.
Done.
But now it's
So it will run after successful commit. If the database is down, this will never happen, right?
yeah. So theoretically, you can send the message or not, right? It's like
Why?
it's okay, like because if there was a successful commit, we're going to send it, right? And either we succeed or not, so it's 0 or 1.
All right.
Or there was no successful commit, so there's no sending of the message.
I mean, it's like fire and forget.
Yeah.
It's called at most once delivery. You will try once, and that's it.
So it's a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't know, depends on your business requirements, I guess. But you need something different?
Okay, so let's say that from the business perspective, let's say we run such business that sending, let's say, a marketing email is not really, like if we don't really send it, nothing terrible will happen, right? So that could be a potential case for this kind of, okay.
What if you send something more important?
Like PIN number to your card. That you
Via-
always should send via email.
By email, that's a good
Okay.
idea.
Yeah.
Okay, let's assume you do that.
Yes.
I don't want to
Sounds
hear
like
about
good
that.
practice.
Let's assume you do that. So,
But it's going to be obfuscated somehow.
all right. So how can you fix that? Any ideas?
No.
So how about a different implementation of your domain event publisher? Let's take a look. It should be somewhere in here. Go to implementations, yeah.
So you have one?
Yeah.
So you go around companies with this implementation.
Yes, more or
Okay.
less, yes. Again, you are not special merchant, I'm sorry. So this guy, what does it do? Publishes events to a domain event storage, which is basically the same database in which you store credit cards. So we have asset guarantees. It's either both of them or nothing.
Okay, so it tries to store the thing in the database.
And then you have this external publisher, which takes a look at all of the events that were not already published, each 2 seconds, and then publish them like in the old days. And that's it. You're done.
But
and
what
marks
about,
the event as sent.
What about this transactional over there? Like this transactional, what about this?
I cannot see from here.
I'm going to show you over here. This transactional, this. What about this?
What's wrong with that?
I mean, you can have exactly the same problem, right? So let's say we try to find the ones that haven't been sent. We send them out.
All right.
We failed, so we send them out again. Again, and for the 4th time, we've managed to do it. So we're going to send it 4 times.
By we fail, you mean we cannot write the event and mark it as sent, right?
Yeah, correct.
Because our database is down.
For example.
So we will send the event for the 2nd time, the 3rd time, the 4th time, and 10th
So is it
time.
okay to like spam people with messages?
It's called at least once delivery.
Okay, so you're saying, for example, that we're doing the secure way of sending out the PIN number via emails. So we want to be sure that somebody gets it, so it's better to send it out a couple of times instead of 0.
Probably, I don't know.
Okay, it's a business decision.
It depends.
Oh, speaking of it depends, because we pay you a lot of money, not. For sure, there has to be a silver bullet, because we are at a conference, so you're here to give us a silver bullet. A hammer that we can use for every single situation.
Like, with at least once delivery, if your consumer is highly important, you can have exactly...
I want exactly one's delivery, man.
There is a way. You can get rid of microservices. I said
What did
that.
you just say?
I said that out loud. You can get rid of microservices.
Oh my God.
Or you
How
can...
dare you? But can I use functions?
You can use
Can I
functions
use
too.
platforms, serverless, all sorts of stuff?
You cannot beat like CAP theorem, but you can make your consumer idempotent.
So you're saying that due to the fact that I do distributed computing, I have problems that have been described like 50 years ago?
I don't know if it's 50, but probably yes.
Oh my God, this is amazing knowledge.
You can get exactly once processing with idempotent consumer, right?
But I'm pretty sure you have some special solution.
No other solution.
There-
But,
yeah.
oh yeah, now it hit me. You could think about something different. Essentially, you're trying to store 2 things in 2 different places.
Okay.
Right? Database, message broker.
Okay.
You modify both states.
Correct.
Maybe one of them can be derived from the other one. Like, can you get all of the events from the state?
I don't know. I mean, state is like, let's say we have those properties. I don't know how I ended up with such a state, right? So I can't derive it.
But from the events, you can
Yeah,
derive
but
state.
events, let's say, are some sort of deltas that happen over time. So I can derive state from events.
Right. So it's called event sourcing. With this,
Oh, the buzzword.
yeah, the buzzword, not
Okay.
the buzzword.
Okay.
You can use event sourcing if you really need. I mean, it depends.
No, because
it depends.
So right now, after this presentation, everybody goes to their laptops and rewrites all the code to use event sourcing, right? Because the event sourcing will solve all of the problems, right?
Will not. It's a different learning curve. If you really need that, if you need a built-in audit log, a different perspective on your audit log, I don't know, possibility to check the state from the yesterday and things like this, and maybe in this tiny little place of your code, you should consider event sourcing, but not for everything. But it would solve this problem that you described.
So we cannot write immediately that we're looking for people to hire because we're doing event sourcing, right?
You can. You can, but no, I will come.
Okay.
All right. Do you have any more questions? Because
No.
if not, I would like you to stay subscribed to these channels.
Okay,
You should.
I will read this.
Because
I have no questions, man.
you are going to code soon, so you should subscribe.
I'm going to get fired soon, but yeah, maybe I should start coding.
All right. Any more questions?
Nope.
Any more questions from you guys?
Maybe you have questions. Any questions?
Yes, we can
Can
go
we
to
deploy
production.
to production? Yes, always.
Let's go to production.
So continuous deployment is about continuously trying to deploy to production, right?
Yeah. Eventually, we'll succeed.
And this is eventual consistency, right?
It was, yes, exactly.
Does it make sense? Does it make sense? Who doesn't care?
Did anyone understand anything?
Okay, there was a question there, I guess.
Did you guys mention how you generate generated that test file from your YAML?
The question was if we mentioned how we generated the test file from the YAML. The answer is we didn't mention, but I guess it's not the complete answer you were expecting. So the Spherical contract, Maven, and Gradle plugins analyze the YAMLs or groovies, and from the, let's say, the contract, they generate internally the tests. We can take it offline if you want to know the details.
But the framework does it for you.
Yeah, the framework does it for you.
In short words, right?
Yep. Any more questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Will my code scale horizontally? So if there's more than one process pull in that table that has pending events, is there any race conditions there?
It could be. It could happen.
Can you repeat the question?
Okay, so the question is whether if you have like 3 or 4 instances of this scheduler that takes a look at the new events in the internal queue in the database, maybe they will be delivered 3 or 4 times by different consumers, by different pullers, right? So the answer is yes, it can happen. The solution is that maybe you can partition the streams that you are looking at by different instances. Like this instance may look for streams related to a card ID from 1 to 10, the other one from 10 to 20, things like this.
Or with scheduling, you can use, as far as I remember, Quartz, let's say, handles multiple instances trying to run the same, let's say, scheduled method, and it puts some logs or stuff. I guess it was done in Quartz, as far as I remember.
Yeah, it can be handled this way, but with this solution, you only have like one instance pulling everything all the time. So if it's down, there is.
And on the other hand, you don't really care. Like if you send it like 4 times, okay, happens, right?
You tell me.
I mean, you're the consultant.
It depends.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have those idempotent consumers, but not everything can be idempotent, so maybe you should care sometimes.
Yeah. Any more questions? Questions? Oh, yeah, there's a question there.
So these are all tests using mods, unit tests, right? But there's still going to be another step where you're actually doing integration testing with RabbitMQ and those things before you go to production. There is going to be stuff real.
So that's a very good question. So the question was, we are showing tests using mocks. Either it were like real mocks or message collectors or contract tests. But the question was that there will be a integration test with real things. The answer is, it depends. And the question should be on what? And the answer is,
on the context.
On the context. No, and so if you check out one of the projects that I lead, which is called Spherical Pipelines, over there, one of the steps assumes that we deploy our application to a platform. We surround it with real infrastructure like a database or Rabbit, but we surround it also with stubs, not real apps, to verify if you can communicate with the database, if you can, because what Jakub has shown with the contract tests on the image, on the consumer side, you can trigger a stubbed message. But Spherical contract, the stub runner piece, so stub runner is a, let's say, piece of Spherical contract that, believe it or not, runs stubs. Stub runner can be deployed to cloud, and it can connect to a real RabbitMQ, for example. So your application can pull a message as if it came from a real app, from a real RabbitMQ. So now coming to, it depends with the integration test. So this can be some sort of a smoke test that can verify if your application it was packaged properly, if it can start, if it can bind to services. And now the question is, should you do end-to-end tests? And I'm a controversial person because I think that if you talk to your business, if you calculate that it makes sense, if you have monitoring of your key performance indicators and you have alerting over those, hypothetically, theoretically, maybe you might not do end-to-end tests at all, assuming that you can roll back on production and you immediately know that something went wrong. But since there's a lot of people who say that I'm crazy, you could still do end-to-end tests. But if you're doing contract tests, the probability that your end-to-end test will fail due to invalid integration goes to 0. You might fail because of functional things, but from semantical point of view, the probability goes down.
Yeah, and you can fail because of different reasons, not related to your code or your bugs. Like maybe the rabbit was down, I don't know why, because other team was playing around during you were running testing. So
Yeah.
that
But
causes problems.
With, let's say, with Cloud Foundry, you can have your separate space with your separate infrastructure, and then nobody will, let's say, interfere in what you're doing. But that was a good question. If we had a prize, we'd give you one.
But
And
we don't have any.
We can give you a bottle of water.
No?
Sorry,
yeah, there
no
is-
bottle of water.
Yeah, there is.
There was a question somewhere over here. Yeah, go ahead.
The specification test for integration is not in Java, right? That's given when.
It's in Groovy. It's Spock.
So the question was about the given when then labels in the test. They are written in Groovy using the Spock framework.
So it's not even Groovy, it's Groovy on steroids, by the way. It's Spock.
Yeah, with transformations. Yeah. So essentially, it's Groovy with a framework called Spock. Second test, yes. You passed it.
About that RabbitMQ database, so it doesn't create a single point of failure.
I mean, RabbitMQ broker, right? The question was whether it creates a single point of failure. I mean, brokers never go down, right? So, no, of course they might. So that's why you create a cluster, or yeah, they might go down. But if, let's say, if you have applications with point-to-point communication, the apps can go down as well. Of course, it's not a single point of failure then. So it's, again, it depends on your architecture, on your DevOps skill set. But I have seen apps crash more frequently than the brokers. So if I was to, trust someone, I would trust the creators of the broker rather than creators of the apps. But it depends on like various things. But yes, like theoretically, it's a single point of failure. The same if you're even doing the point-to-point communication, for sure you have service discovery, right? I mean, for sure, like most likely you do. It can also be your single point of failure, right?
So there is a trade-off, right?
Yeah.
For this elimination of temporal coupling, logical coupling, this throttling, broadcast mechanisms that we described, you have another point in your infrastructure that can be down and can be a single point of failure. So trade-offs.
Any more questions?
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Hopefully you enjoyed it. Thanks.